Hi guys, today we're going to be doing a little container planting. I've got a few perennials that have been in their nursery cans since the beginning of the season, and I want to get them out into fresh soil, but I don't know where in the landscape I want to put them yet. So I thought getting them potted up in a nice pretty terracotta pot with some fresh soil and a little bit of fertilizer, they would be a lot happier because they are looking a little bit stressed. Actually, I'm looking at a few of them right now and they look pretty horrible, but not as horrible as this hydrangea behind me. And that's going to be one of our first projects. We are going to be rescuing this sad looking panicle hydrangea. Now, this was given to me a little over a week ago, and I've been wanting to get this project done, but we've had so much rain. We literally have like a couple hours break. It's cloudy out here right now, pretty humid, but we are under a flood watch and thunderstorm warnings because we've got another round of storms coming in this evening. So I've got a little bit of a window of no rain, so I thought this would be a perfect time to come out here and get this project done. So we've got an early evolution hydrangea. This is a panicle hydrangea or a Hydrangea paniculata. It grows about 24 to 48 inches tall and 24 inches wide, so it's pretty compact. It does say that it wants part sun, which is a little unusual for a panicle hydrangea because they can handle full sun. But look at the blooms on this. This is what it's supposed to look like when it's happy. This is currently what it's looking like right now. Pretty sad, wilted leaves everywhere. There's some broken branches in here. And overall, you can see that it is just stressed. It needs to get out of this container. We need to see what's going on with the root ball, clean all of this wilted dead foliage up, and just get this into a new home so it can relax and start blooming again. You're probably thinking, Lexis, why don't you just plant this right into the landscape and save yourself some time? Well, there's a good reason for that. I don't know exactly what's causing this plant to look like this. Is it just stressed out because it needs a little bit more room or fresh soil? Was it subjected to overwatering or underwatering? Or is there something going on beneath the soil that we can't see? Something like root rot or some type of fungal infection, in which case I wouldn't want to introduce anything like that into the landscape. I feel more comfortable getting this repotted, cleaned up, treated for any potential pests or anything preventatively, and having it sit in its pot somewhere in our garden. Probably, I think all of these containers are probably going to end up on the kitchen porch, but that way I can monitor it. And then later on in the fall, when the weather cools, because we're actually pretty cool right now, but we're supposed to get up to 101 degrees by the weekend. So that's going to be a little too much for this thing in the ground just yet. So again, I just feel a little more comfortable babying this in a pot somewhere where it can get a little bit of sun, a little bit of shade, and I can monitor it a lot more closely and make sure throughout the season that it's okay, it gets healthy, it rebounds, and I feel safe introducing it into the landscape. And that way I don't have to worry about potentially introducing any types of pests or fungal issues or any type of disease into the garden. We've also got these plants to play with. I've got 2 creeping jenny and 3 columbine. Both of these are perennial in my area. I'm in Maryland zone 7A. These wintered over from last season, so I don't know exactly where in the landscape I'd want these to end up. So I may just take these and just plop them, container and all, into a terracotta pot. That way in the fall, I can just take them out and put them back in our little landing pad over here until I can figure out where to put them permanently, and I don't have to worry about keeping the terracotta pots out all winter and cracking them because of our freeze thaw. And then the columbine I'm going to put in a terracotta pot as well and give them some nice fertilizer. You can see they've already done their blooms and they're looking pretty sad right now. But again, these have been in their containers since the beginning of the season, so They're probably definitely needing to get out of here, and they probably need to dry out a little because, again, we've gotten so much rain. These I'm probably going to put somewhere back over here where it gets part shade. But again, I'm not 100% sure. So in the interim, I'll just pot them up. Once we get all those planted, I've got a hanging basket that I'd like to get potted up with one Super Tunia Vista bubblegum because it's going to go right over here by our gate by the vegetable garden. It's going to become part of our Super Tunia Vista bubblegum experiment. Also, if you hear a little bit of background noise, one of our neighbors at the top of our street is having a huge silver maple tree taken out. I actually went up there and grabbed a little bit of footage that I'll show you at the end because it is just so fascinating to watch these guys work with these huge tree branches and the control they have over them. But this tree that they're taking down is massive. It's old. It's probably over 60, 70 years old and probably about 70, 75 feet tall. Big tree, but it's just amazing. So again, if you hear anything like that, any noise in the background, other than the train just now, that's what it is. One of the first videos I did was rescuing clearance rack plants. And in that video, I went step by step in great detail how to diagnose, treat, and repot clearance rack plants or any plant that's showing any signs of stress, be it overwatering, underwatering, potential pest or fungal issues. I'll put a link to that video in the description box. So today I just want to go kind of run through the whole process again pretty quickly though, and just show you again how I like to treat these plants and give them a little TLC. And then we're going to repot this and all of our other plants, get them placed, watered in, and then I'll come back around and show you how they all look. So I've got some organic potting soil, some starter fertilizer, my gloves. I brought out some insecticidal soap. We're going to preventively treat the hydrangea with this. And then for our hanging basket, I've got the Proven Winners slow release fertilizer and the water soluble fertilizer because once we get this potted up, I am going to give it some fertilizer. So the first thing I like to do is take this out of its root ball and inspect the root system because I want to see if there's anything going on underneath that I can't see. Okay, so here's our root ball. Oh, this thing is heavy. This thing is waterlogged. So the first thing I always do is smell the root ball. Okay, I want to check to see if it smells swampy or if it's got that funky smell to it, and it actually does right now. I can smell the beginnings of root rot right now because again, we've gotten so much rain. It's been a little bit waterlogged. Yeah. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is I'm going to spray the root ball with a little bit of insecticidal soap just to stop any type of fungal or bacteria growth. Then we'll go in and inspect the canopy and see if we've got any dead, damaged, and diseased branches that we need to remove. So I'm just going to give it a light spray all the way around. If you don't have insecticidal soap, you can use 3% hydrogen peroxide. And then underneath. All right. I'm also going to spray right at the base. Okay. Now I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer so you can get a cleaner view of what I'm going to be doing inside. So what I like to do first is go in here and remove any dead leaves and branches that are just kind of gunking up the crown of the plant. Just kind of clear all of this stuff away. We don't want any wet leaves sitting on the woody part of the plant because that just invites disease and pests. And then I just continue moving up the branches of the plant, removing any of these wilted and blackened leaves. Like you can see, a lot of these leaves are just mushy and they just come right off. See that? Okay, I'll show you my next step. What I like to do after I remove all of the mushy leaves, and again, I am gonna come back in here and do this whole thing. I just wanna show you right now, step by step, how I like to tackle this. Now I wanna come in here and just inspect all of these branches and see if there's any branches like this one that are broken. So this would be considered damaged, so we wanna clip that off. And what we're looking for are any dead, damaged, and diseased branches. Any branches that are growing in towards the center of the plant, we want to remove because we want to increase light and airflow in the center of the plant. So we can remove some of these little spindly branches, a lot of these thin ones that aren't really doing anything, just sucking energy from the plant, like this little one. See, we've got a dead branch right here, or a broken branch. Right there, we can just come in, remove that. And then right over here in the center, you can see we've got a couple branches that are growing back towards the center of the plant. So I want to remove those and just create a little bit more airflow. And we're not going in and doing a hard pruning. We just want to eliminate a lot of these crisscrossing branches that are just dying off. We want the plant to focus initially on root development, especially now because we are at the beginning stages of some root rot, and then it can focus on pushing new leaves and new growth. And even if we're removing some spent blooms or some blooms, it's totally fine. There's some dead branches there. So you can already see just a little bit of light trimming and removal of wilted leaves. It's already starting to feel and look a lot lighter and healthier. We've got a lot more airflow right here. I think this is going to be okay. Once we're done cleaning and pruning this, I'm going to come in with some insecticidal soap and give the entire plant just a nice little coat as a preventative measure, just in case there's something that I can't see with my eyes. I just want to be extra careful and make sure this plant is clean. I'm going to finish working on the hydrangea. Once I'm done, we can start potting everything up. Well, I think that looks a lot better than what we started out with. So I went in, I removed all of those slimy, mushy leaves that had gathered right at the crown of the plant, got rid of all of the, oops, there's one, all the rest of the mushy leaves throughout the stems, then went in and removed all of the dead, damaged, and diseased branches, and quite a few branches that were growing back towards the center of the plant. So now we've opened up the center, it can get light, airflow, and then I came in and gave this entire plant and root ball another spray with the insecticidal soap. And I didn't bother removing these blooms because we only have a little bit of green leaves over here. So I just wanted to keep this canopy intact. I pretty much kind of went after this whole thing pretty hard, so I don't want to overstress this plant more than I have to. Now we're ready to pot it up, and I've got a terracotta pot ready to go. So this was in a 3-gallon container, and I've got a 14-inch terracotta pot that we're going to use to pot it up in. It's not too much bigger than the width of this root ball. You can see only by like maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Oof, that is heavy. This root ball is soaking wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of the organic potting soil, some starter fertilizer. Then I'm going to take the container and just kind of build a well around the container, slide the container out, and just pop the plant right in here. And I'm not going to water it in because there's way too much water already in this root ball. Can squeeze it out of here. This poor thing needs to dry out. And in true Lexus fashion, I don't like to throw anything out if I can reuse it. So you can see this terracotta pot fell and cracked, but a little bit of crazy glue, and we've got a pot ready to go. The potting process is pretty standard. We've done it a bunch of times. So I'm gonna get the hydrangea potted up. Then I'm gonna move on to our perennials and our hanging basket. Once I get everything done and placed, I will come back around and give you guys a mini tour and show you how everything looks and where it all ended up. All right, guys, we got everything potted up and placed, and it looks so good. So here's where everything ended up aside from the hanging basket, right on the corner of our kitchen porch. And doesn't it look so good? Oh, I'm so happy with it. So I've got the hydrangea all the way in the back. I took the 3 columbine and just potted them all up together in one terracotta pot. And then in the fall, when we go to plant the hydrangea in the landscape, I can separate these and find a place for them. And then our creeping Jenny, I just took 2 different size pots. One is wider, one is just a hair taller, and just popped the entire thing, nursery can and all, right into the pot. And isn't that just so pretty? And then I had a Sweet Romance lavender, and I thought a little touch of color right in the front would be so sweet. Isn't that pretty? Let me show you from this angle. So this is what it looks like from the steps. And I did test the door because we use this door not too frequently, but we never really open it up all the way, but we're right okay. It's not gonna hit anything. I'm just really happy with these. And I'm so glad that we had a chance to actually get this project done because again, we've just had so much rain. So the hydrangea, we inspected the root ball. There was a little bit of a smell, so I treated that with some insecticidal soap, came in and removed all the dead, damaged, and diseased branches, a lot of the wilted foliage, gave the entire canopy an insecticidal soap spray, and then potted it up in fresh potting soil with some starter fertilizer. I did remove some of the existing soil from the root ball just to kind of get it to fit in the pot, but again, those roots were pretty smelly, and I wanted to get rid of some of that old soil. The columbine, some fresh potting soil, starter fertilizer, they will rebound. Everything just kind of needs to dry out. The creeping Jenny is probably the best looking thing because this is a part sun plant, and we've been overcast for the last few days. And then the Sweet Romance lavender. So again, everything is just really, really sweet. And this will, these two will look a little bit better once they get a little bit more settled in. And I also sprayed the nursery container, my pruners, basically just sanitized anything and everything that came into contact with the hydrangea. And whenever you're working with any type of plant that's stressed and you're unsure what's going on with it, whether it's bacterial or fungal or pests, you want to make sure you sterilize all your utensils and everything that comes in contact with that plant, because you don't want to potentially spread anything to any other plants. Now let's go take a look at the hanging basket. There it is, right at the entrance to our gate by the vegetable garden. And opening it, it's not going to impede our pathway, but isn't it just so cute? And again, this is going to go right along with our Super Tunia Vista bubblegum experiment on the retaining wall. And I thought it would be nice to have the same plant and then just a little bit higher, a little bit elevated, and just spilling over and just cascading down. Isn't that pretty? And I decided to leave a little excess of the cocoa fiber lining. I didn't feel like cutting it. And again, once this plant gets going, it's gonna hide it. But this was potted up in fresh potting soil. I added the slow release fertilizer, and I did fertilize with the Proven Winners water soluble fertilizer. Let's go take a look from the other side of the retaining wall so you can get an idea of what I'm envisioning. So we've got our Super Tunia Vista bubblegum in their containers, and then we have the hanging basket that we just added right by the gate. Once that starts to fill in, it'll spill over. We'll have that beautiful bubblegum color just flowing down, and then we'll have all of these just filling in and spilling over all the way down the retaining wall, and it should just be this nice, big, beautiful blanket of bubble gum. And I just noticed too, our Pugster Pinkers are in bloom. Look at them. So we'll have more pink that'll draw from the bubble gum towards the house with these, which smell amazing. And then we have our front porch container that has more of the bubble gum. So this whole area will just all be pulled in together. I can't wait for these to all grow and fill in so we can see our vision come to life. And you guys, that is it for our projects today. So glad to finally get this done. I'm glad we had a little bit of dry time to come out here and get all these potted up. And I do have a little bit of footage of the tree coming down at the top of our street. So stay tuned for that. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you in the next one. Bye.